What it is. Peace, silly listeners. Welcome to the podcast where we shoot the shit and we take our silliness seriously. The Professionally Silly Podcast. It is me, your audible blue thing, Amber Smiles Jones. And thank you so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, buckle up. We're about to get silly and creepy as it is the Halloween season, as they say, spooky season. I've got something in store for you for this episode. So I want to go ahead and get into something here. Lately, I just recently finished watching Ed Gein Monster, the Ed Gein Story on Netflix, and it is insane. All right, spoiler alert. Okay, I'm going to share some things about the movie that if it's going to ruin it for you, you might as well go ahead and skip to the next segment. Have you heard about? Because I'm about to spoil some things. Okay. Here's the thing. This particular series, if you have not seen it, it is available on Netflix. Excuse me. Monster, the Ed Gein Story on Netflix. And when I tell you it is insane, it is insane. It literally almost made me feel bad for the serial killer, which technically, Ed Gein is not a serial killer. The killer is 3 people to be a serial killer. It's a thing. But the Monster, the Ed Gein Story, they're the same people who did Monster, Jeffrey Dahmer, the thing that went crazy viral. And it was actually really well done. If you're thinking about the storyline and how they did it. First of all, I love Niecy Nash. I will watch anything that she is in. But dealing with Ed Gein, the Ed Gein Story from Monster, the cast was very surprising because I honestly, as a true crime buff, I had no idea, one, that this series on Netflix was being made. I knew that Monster was going to be making something else because they're going to do a series of different serial killers or crimes, I guess. And so that did not surprise me, but I was surprised that it just ended up on my Netflix feed like, oh yeah, this just came out, top 10, check this out. Like, what? It just wasn't on my algorithm, so I had no idea. So Charlie Hunnam is playing the character of Ed Gein, which honestly, I have not seen Charlie Hunnam since Sons of Anarchy. If you are unaware of Sons of Anarchy, what? That was one of my favorite series ever. I literally created the rumor in my own head that particular series like fucked him up in the head and he just disappeared from Hollywood, but that is not the case. I heard that rumor once on like Twitter and ran with it, and I actually never saw him since, but that's my fault. Now here's the thing. He did a wonderful job playing this creepy person from the Ed Gein Story. Another actress that surprised me that I didn't even know was in it was Laurie Metcalf. Now, you guys may know her as Jackie from the hit series Roseanne and now currently The Conners. She's always going to be Jackie to me, but I got to tell you, when I was watching her as Ed's mother, Augusta Gein, I was fucking floored. I was looking at her the whole time thinking she would make a great Lorraine Warren. She would. I think she would play Lorraine Warren very well. I really do. Like in her older age, I think that. Oh, by the way, a while back on the podcast, I actually did a episode back when I was thinking about getting more into true crime on the show. I did an entire podcast on Ed Gein, and I will put that down below in the description box in the show notes so you guys can take a listen. It was a few years ago, so the audio might be different, but the story is interesting. So if you're interested in checking that out, go ahead. Another surprise cameo. I'm not sure. I have to look this up, but I believe Cameron Britton made a cameo on the Monster, the Ed Gein Story. I believe it was the last episode. And Cameron Britton, if you're unaware, he actually played Ed Kemper in the hit series Mindhunter on Netflix, which I was fucking furious that they decided to cancel that series. Oh, it infuriated me. It was so good. But that entire series, Mindhunter, is about like the beginning, or kind of like the beginning of the BAU. The Behavioral Analysis Unit. You may have heard of the BAU because of the show Criminal Minds, starring my boo, Shamar Moore. I just love like the characters like Penelope and Shamar Moore's character Derek. Their characters like together was just, I just loved it so much. It was so much fun. Honestly, I'm gonna be real, this is gonna sound crazy, but no one else can play Ed Kemper besides Cameron Britton. And I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing for him as an actor to play a serial killer so well. All right, so I want to go a little further into this. As I mentioned to you guys before, I did a I did a podcast episode about Ed Gein, the serial killer, as well. And if you've never heard of Ed Gein, I can give you like kind of like a basic kind of review of what he did. A lot of people do label Ed Gein as a serial killer. Not really sure if that really fits him because that is debated, but he only confessed to killing 2 people. And a serial killer usually kills 3 or more in separate events. So his victims that we think that we know of is Mary Hogan and Bernice Worden. If you watch the series, both of these characters are in there, but I would definitely say that this particular series definitely took some Hollywoodized role towards this particular series. A lot of the stuff that they said happened did not, but again, this is just for the storyline to kind of elevate, I guess. I think what they were trying to do was trying to make us pay more attention to perhaps the psychological aspects as to why Ed Gein did what he did. I think that's what they were trying to like kind of hook us on. So, but a lot of it isn't true. So Mary Hogan is a tavern owner who disappeared in 1954, and investigators actually found her remains at Ed Gein's property. Bernice Worden, his other victim, was a hardware store owner who was killed in 1957. We're talking about 3 years later. And after her son was actually reported her missing, police traced her last purchase to Gein, which led police to his farmhouse, where unfortunately they found her body in a very disgusting way. I'm going to go ahead and give you a warning right now because the things that he did is really disturbing, and that is why it's so quote unquote infamous, especially at its time when it happened. We're talking about like in the 50s, right after like World War II. And it's kind of crazy. So when they searched Ed Gein's farmhouse, they actually, and this is in Plainsfield, Wisconsin, by the way, they like found a lot of gross, horrible things beyond just those, I don't want to say just those murders, but beyond those murders. They found that he had been actually digging and robbing graves for years, collecting female corpses from local cemeteries. Now, that's disgusting. And again, warning, he used these remains to create household items and clothing, including masks made from human faces and a woman's suit made from skin. I mean, I'm talking about nasty. These are things that, especially at this time, it was just unfathomable that something like this could ever happen. Now, here's the thing about Ed Gein that a lot of people may or may not know, okay? He actually inspired a couple of movies that we are all well aware of. Now, Ed Gein is just to have said inspired a lot of movies that we are aware of. One of them is Norman Bates in Psycho. Also, Leatherface in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know, him taking people's skin off and creating a woman's suit. That's kind of Leatherfacey. And also Buffalo Bill and The Silence of the Lambs. Now, here's the thing. There is no evidence that Ed Gein actually was a cannibal, and there's no evidence that he was a necrophiliac. A necrophiliac? Is that right? And if you're unaware what that is, that means someone who likes to do disgusting sexual things to dead bodies. Gross. So there's no evidence of that. Actually, there was one point where Ed was asked about that, and he said that the smell was too disgusting for him to do sexual things to the bodies, which is, I guess that's the one normal thing that he did. Really gross. So, ugh. So Ed Gein was found guilty of murdering Bernice Worden, but he was not declared guilty because by reason of insanity, and he was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he spent the rest of his life in a mental institution, which I'm assuming at that time wasn't great. All right, so let's talk about the differences between like the movie itself and the actual events. So I looked this up just to kind of get the differences because I was kind of pissed off that at one point I was starting to feel bad for Ed Gein. Like, what the fuck? Like the things that he did, what? The movie Monster, the Ed Gein story, depicts that he killed multiple peoples, including people, including his brother and a babysitter and nurse. However, in real life, he only confessed to 2 murders, Mary Hogan and Bernice Warden. Okay, he was never officially linked to any other murders. Also, his brother's death, or in the TV show or the series, he kills his brother, but in real life, his brother died due to asphyxiation due to a brush fire. So, also in the movie, it portrays a lot of romantic interest and relationships that just never happened. Ed Gein actually said that he had never had a sexual experience. So, and honestly, once you see his mother, Augusta Gein, who was played again by Laurie Metcalf, she was so overly religious, it was dangerous, to where, honestly, I do feel like the way that she raised him had a lot to do with how he kind of took on the world through his eyes, which is kind of, I don't know. You gotta watch the movie and check out some more information about Ed Gein, but it is not great. And I do think that his mother had a lot to do with what the world ended up getting from Ed Gein. Also, Ed Gein never helped capture Ted Bundy. I think that is something that they put into the movie to let us know a new monster series, the Ted Bundy story, is probably on its way, because in episode 8 they do share a lot of interesting clips that make you think maybe they're going to go further into this. So yeah, there are a lot of things in dealing with this particular series that are just Hollywoodized, but I no longer feel bad for the serial killer. I guess there were points where there were scenes with his mom, and I was like, oh God, she is destroying this man, and he's going to be in the world. Oh God, parents, please don't raise serial killers if you can help it. Let your children date when they're old enough, please. Because we don't need any more serial killers in the world. That's just how I feel. Hard stance on that. It is what it is. If you have not yet checked out Monster, the Ed Gein story on Netflix, and you are a true crime fanatic, check it out. It is interesting. I will say this, Charlie Hunnam, amazing actor. He did a wonderful job creeping me the fuck out. And I think that might be another reason why I liked him. I knew I kind of saw Charlie Hunnam. I was like, oh my God, Sons of Anarchy. Oh, he's broken, but in a different way. And then seeing Jackie Connor in there is insane. So, all right, guys, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. And if you want to show your support for this podcast, that's the best way to do that. Also, if you're listening on Spotify, you can leave comments down below. And the same if you are watching on YouTube. A lot more interesting content coming your way. Next up on the Professionally Silly podcast, a new Have You Heard About? Coming up right here on the Professionally Silly podcast. Have you heard about Nicki Minaj and Cardi B are beefing? We've all seen it. It has been on our algorithms, whether we are into rap music, black women, or just sexiness or not. Okay, so that was a lot to say. They've been beefing for a minute, actually years, honestly. And I don't know what the fuck picked it back up, but it is picked up, and they are throwing things. They're throwing jabs, but this time not just at each other, at each other's children, which is insane. Now, I don't know what Nicki Minaj is going through, but judging by the things that she's been I'm just going to say tweeting, fuck that. The things that she's been tweeting kind of seems like she's off her rocker. I don't know, man. I think she's going through some things, and I think Nicki might need to see somebody, okay? So it says here that Nicki Minaj and Cardi B both issue apologies to each other's kids. Now, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, okay, good. They should. These kids, why are you going after each other's kids? That's kind of messed up. You're both moms. Let's grow up here. And then I went on to read further, and it's not at all what I thought. Now, this is coming from Nicki Minaj. And by the way, I am reading this from @TMZ _TV on the Instagram page here. And they have shared a photo or screenshot, of Nicki Minaj's tweet on X.com. And Nicki Minaj says, and she is reading this to Cardi B's kid. which is just, I was going to say beautiful, but say it in a facetious tone, but this is just pure fucked up. Nikki says, "Dear culture, truth is, I did all this for a bigger purpose, and one day you'll understand. You're a cutie child, and lots of kids have cute little funny looking gums before they grow into all their features." That's so fucked up. "One day you'll see this, so I have to say I apologize. As a child of God and queen of my community who look to me for integrity," I never looked to her for that. I looked to her for exactly what she's giving me. Oh, the Barbies are going to get me. "You're an innocent child and don't deserve any of this. One day your mother, aunt, and many more will be brought to their knees for what they've said and tried to do to my young prophet, beautiful boy. Take care, my darling. This isn't who I am." That is not an apology. I don't know what that is, but that's just that's just more bullshit. But Cardi responded, apologizing to her child. Actually, I don't really know who posted what first, but this is Cardi on X.com. She tweeted, that's right, this. "Dear Papa Perk, I'm sorry that your mommy haven't cut you a birthday cake for the past 3 days because she can't take my success or happiness. One day you're going to grow up, and I hope you understand when a girl says no, it means no, and you can overcome the pedophilia blood you inherited from you inherited from you, your grandfather, father, and uncle." Now, if you guys are unaware of this, Nicki Minaj did marry a sex offender, and then they both decided to harass one of the victims. This was trending a while ago. Kind of weird if you ask me. Anyways, moving on. Please don't please don't hate me when you grow up, because your mommy rather give me more attention than she gives you. Hopefully when somebody that really cares about her puts her in rehab and gets her the help she needs, she come out and read you a book. Okay, this is horrible. This is crazy. First of all, both of these women are grown as fuck, rich as fuck. This is ridiculous. And the funny thing is that Nicki Minaj, I love her music. I do. As a person, not really too sure about that, but I don't really know her. I only know what she's allowing me to see. And what I'm seeing right now ain't great. Okay. But Nicki Minaj, after Cardi dropped her album and all this stuff, Nicki Minaj decided to drop the fact that she has another album coming out in like 6 fucking months. And I think she did this the day of or the day after. It was very close to the release of Cardi's album. You know what I'm saying? Which is kind of weird. Okay. All of this hate happened simply because Cardi dropped a new album. And she has been trending all over social media. She's pregnant. She's on the train selling her CDs. I mean, $9.99. Like, she's taking us back to the early 2000s and the 90s. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate that. That's fucking fire. And I'm listen, Barbs, I know y'all love y'all some Nicki, but I'm thinking Nicki's a little green with envy and jealousy right now because this behavior is crazy. Now, I don't know if Nicki Minaj has issues, if she's into drugs or alcohol or whatever. Maybe if she is, that would explain why she married that man. I don't know. But all I am saying is that Nicki seems like she's losing it and Cardi is just riding the wave. Now, am I biased? Absolutely, because I love me some Cardi B. Now, am I a Barb's or what do they call Cardi fans? Am I that? No. I just enjoy their music and I love the success of women of color doing the damn thing no matter what it is that they're doing. I love it. I love it when we win. But this right here is not looking too great for our community. So I kind of need them to either if we're going to beef, let's beef and let's drop some tracks. Let's drop some diss tracks. This tweeting about each other's kids is a little weird to me. It's a little ick if you ask me. But I feel like if we're going to have a beef, let's have a beef. Drop some tracks. Let's do this. Let's do it the right way, the way that hip hop culture has done it always. Let's draw some tracks. Let's do that. And if we can, let's not bring the kids into it. Damn, leave the kids alone. Now, I don't know if you yourself have ever had any ghostly encounters or some paranormal experiences, but lucky for you, I do have some ghostly experiences to share with you coming up next right here on the Professionally Silly podcast. All right, ladies and gents, I am going to share some ghostly experiences that I came across on BuzzFeed.com. Then we're going to kind of go into the best way to maybe investigate these particular experiences. Now, if you're unaware of this, I am a paranormal investigator. How do you feel about the renovations he's done to this home? Can you tell me the name of the man who lives in this house right now? Let me show you what happens when you touch it. This is it. This is all that happens. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to hurt you. If there are any spirits in this house right now, can you tell me how many of you are here? Not really getting much of a reading so far. So let's check out. I just closed this drawer. And I have been doing it for quite some time now. Do I have enough money that Ghost Adventures to have all the tools that they have? Absolutely not. I have a few things though. I got grit, and that's it. So I got one thing. I got grit. Anyways, I want to go ahead and share with you guys, as a paranormal investigator, the best ways to go investigating these types of situations. So let's go ahead and get into our first story. Once again, this is from BuzzFeed.com, and the article is 10 terrifying real-life vacations gone wrong that are scarier than any movie. And this is written by a BuzzFeed staff. Raven Ishak, I believe is how you say her last name. So our first story is, my husband and I went on a vacation to Savannah about 9 years ago. I found this cute hotel downtown that had great reviews and an even better price. When we arrived, I finished checking in while my husband grabbed our bags and went upstairs with the bellman. He asked my husband if we had purposely asked to stay in one of the most haunted rooms in the hotel. When I met my husband upstairs, he asked me if I knew about the hotel being haunted. I did not. And he told me that we were staying in an old Civil War hospital, and our room was right next to the most active room on the property. I blew him off. But when we went on the ghost tour of Savannah that night, the tour guide told us the same thing. That night we came back to the room, and I took a sleeping pill because I was freaked out. In the middle of the night, my husband, who was the most laid-back, chill human you will ever meet, was shaking me and crying. He saw a woman dressed in a Civil War-style nurse outfit taking my vitals, and then she suddenly disappeared. We were both spooked, so in the morning we asked the front desk, and they were like, "Oh, you saw the nurse?" My husband would never let me live it down, and now I must know where we're staying and the history behind it. Danielle, 40, Savannah, Georgia. First of all, that's some creepy shit right there. Okay, I lived in Savannah. That's where I went to college. So I definitely had a lot of ghostly experiences there. And it's honestly like where my paranormal kind of interest kind of peaked around that time. I worked at the Pirates House, and I've shared this a few times. The Pirates House in Savannah, it is one of the dopest restaurants you can have. Great food and wonderful experiences. And my job was to dress up as a pirate and entertain guests. And my way of doing that myself as a theater major at the time. Oh, wait, once a theater major, always a theater major.
My job is ultimately to entertain guests. I like the shape of your head. For the rest, yo ho ho and a bottle of rum.
Amber Jones is one theater major who's already putting her skills to work.
Don't be looking over here. You pay attention to your plates. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
She performs as a pirate in Savannah's popular tourist restaurant, the Pirates House.
She is wonderful to work with. She is so entertaining. Our customers just adore her.
I love the pirate. I think it adds authenticity.
She's getting paid to basically walk around and do improv, especially since it's all improvisational-based work. So I think that's actually kind of cool for her.
I tell ghost stories, and sometimes I give tours of the restaurant, which is always kind of fun. I know, you joining on? Yeah. Wonderful.
The building is a historic landmark, enabling Amber to educate customers about its sinister past.
Now, this tunnel is actually used for rum running and also bootlegging alcohol. And the bartender will get you drunk and drug you with opium. We're talking about over hundreds and hundreds of men who died inside that wall there.
She loves to scare people. She loves to share this knowledge with people and genuinely frightens them a lot of times.
I would get dressed up as Captain Mary Read. And if you know anything about your pirate history, Mary Read dressed up as a man so that she could be a pirate. So it was there's more to the history of Mary Read and Bonnie. Anyways, that was a character that I played, and I would go around doing magic tricks for kids, and I would give tours of the building, and also I would share, the haunted history of Savannah and the building itself. And then I started getting into paranormal investigation, and before you know it, I had dowsing rods, a K2 meter, and a REM pod. So yeah, that does not surprise me that they had those experiences in Savannah, Georgia. It is a very haunted city, in my opinion. There is just so much history and emotions that are just kind of ingrained in the earth there. There's a lot of limestone and things like that around there, and it tends to kind of soak up the energy. And I got to tell you, my friend, Savannah's haunted as hell. It really is, especially in the historic downtown area. So watch yourself. Let's do our next story here. I was in Adelaide, South Australia, I think that's how you say it, to attend a convention a decade ago. I stayed in a historic hotel built in the late 19th century. The staff was friendly and cordial, and they showed me my room, which was at the further end of the hallway. I'm not even sure if there were guests in the other rooms, since I never saw anyone during my 3-day stay. I would wake up past midnight by the sounds of a couple arguing next to my room. It went on for about 30 minutes, and I could hear thumps and bumps on the wall, like some objects being thrown around, and then everything would turn quiet. On my second night at the hotel, the same thing happened, and I went to the reception to complain about the noise next door. The concierge assured me that there were no guests booked next to my room, and that there were only 3 guests, including myself, occupying the same hallway rooms. The house lady I spoke to also mentioned that she heard the same voices in the room, even though it remained unoccupied for months. I checked out right after the convention and flew back to Sydney. Ron, 60, Adelaide, South Australia. First of all, ain't no way. Y'all gotta get me a new room pronto. You said you heard voices in the room, people arguing. You heard exactly the thing that I'm complaining about, and no one has been checked into the room for months. You put me next to that room knowing that. The fuck? Lady, I want to speak to the manager. I'm pulling out my Karen card. No, but me if I'm going someplace for work and I don't have my investigative tools, and I need to sleep and I need to get my rest and shit, I don't want to stay in a haunted room. That's going to keep me up. I'm going to be exhausted. Now, as a paranormal investigator, going to a location like that and knowing ahead of time that's where we're going, oh, I'm 100% down. 100% down. 100% down. That's insane. All right, let's go to our last story here. And then we're going to go into like paranormal schematics, if you will. That sounds really lame, but it's going to be fun. Trust me on that. San Francisco, this September, I was at Alcatraz, and I was alone in D cell block, which was a solitary block. Weekday, early morning, low tourism, I guess. And I was looking around, and I suddenly heard loud screaming and banging coming from above. And it sounded like a man, and he was screaming bloody murder. He yelled, "The button! The button! My button!" multiple times. I went to find a ranger, and they came to look. There was no one in any cells. But apparently, the prisoners in the solitary confinement would throw a button in their dark cells and find it to entertain themselves. Absolutely the scariest thing I've experienced. Sadie, 23, San Francisco. I gotta tell you guys, Alcatraz has been one of my dream paranormal investigations. I would love to go to Alcatraz. So if anybody wants to sponsor that trip, I just need a place to stay and a flight there and back. I will take care of food, refreshments. I'll take care of all that stuff. I just need a way there because I might not have a job at the end of the month. So I can't afford to see a prison island. I don't have the money. I would so love that. If you're unaware of this, as a paranormal investigator, I've been asked a lot of questions. And one of the main questions that I have been asked is, why do ghosts attach themselves to a location? And I wouldn't say that they're like doing it on purpose or anything like that. But when dealing with like paranormal things, there are different types of like energy that can attach itself to a location, a person, an item. And so let's go ahead and dig into that for a second. Coming up next, right here on the Professionally Silly podcast. There are a few like main theories as to why ghosts attach themselves to certain places, depending on how you look at it. So it could be like an emotional or a traumatic energy. And many paranormal researchers believe that ghosts will linger when like strong emotions are experienced, what could be like love or grief or fear, or maybe even rage. And that type of energy is very potent. And it can definitely cause a couple of paranormal issues, okay? So like places like a battlefield or a hospital or a family home could trap energy from those really intense moments. And that could be one of the reasons why people are experiencing paranormal things in locations like that. I guess the best way to think of it is kind of like an emotional fingerprint that never really fades, which is kind of creepy, but that's the best way to put it. The next reason that a spirit could attach itself to something or a place could be residual energy theory, which is like, this is kind of like a haunting on repeat. A lot of the time, those particular spirits are not even aware that you're there. They're kind of stuck in a realm that you were not a part of. Like the time that they were alive or died is probably what they are experiencing. And so the location itself doesn't really host a conscious spirit in a way. So it's kind of like more like a recording that replays over and over again when the conditions are like just right. So like around these times, you could hear like footsteps or see shadows or feel like a cold breeze or something like that. And when that happens, is literally like pressing play on a tape, and then like the residual energy just begins. I don't know. It's a very strange thing, and none of it is like a lot of it. I can't say none of it, but a lot of it is still a science that we are learning about. Another thing that spirits can do is they can attach themselves to not just locations, but spirits and ghosts. They can attach themselves to objects or people. So they imagine a family heirloom or a mirror or a favorite piece of furniture. It could literally act like a magnet for certain spirits. In those cases, the spirits could move these items. So that can be a thing. Dolls, things like that. Like dolls, that's creepy as shit. I'm sorry. But that is a thing. Another theory that we may have heard about like in the 90s, the unfinished business theory. And remember the movie Casper? He couldn't move on because he had unfinished business. So it's kind of folklore in a way, but a ghost might stay because they do have something unresolved. It could be something that they're holding guilt about. It could be revenge. Maybe they have a message to deliver. It can be a hodgepodge of things. It could be anything, honestly. And the spirit could feel, quote unquote, stuck between the worlds until the issue itself is settled. This kind of idea kind of shows up in like almost all ghost stories of several cultures. It's not a new thing. It's kind of like the thing that people think the most, honestly. And then we have our psychological or environmental factors, which is usually what's going on. As a paranormal investigator, I don't immediately go in and be like, oh, this place is fucking haunted. there's demons and spirits and goons and goblins. They're all around here. I can sense it. It's freezing in here. I don't believe that was a lot. I don't believe that every location that I go to is haunted when I do a paranormal investigation. There are times when I do an investigation and nothing fucking happens. That happens so often that I cannot continue to give you like weekly videos dealing with paranormal because it's impossible to do that. It really is. And so like if you go to a creepy basement at night, you might think it's haunted because of the lighting or the way the acoustics run, or maybe just like all of those things can like associate itself with fear, and all of a sudden you're thinking that someone's watching you or something like that. It could be a mental thing as well. And that particular presence could just be your intuition reacting to environmental cues in a way. I've never sound smarter, but this script is amazing. And I did write it, so technically I am smart. All right, so in dealing with the things that we shared in these stories today, we'll go ahead and start with them staying in a haunted hotel. If you are seeing apparitions, obviously for that, I'm going to want to set up some cameras. I'm going to want to get a K2 meter out, maybe a REM pod, to see if this particular apparition will communicate using those particular devices. I would love that. If you're hearing things, you want to get something called an EVP. If the location that you're investigating has lots of stories that people are hearing things, an EVP is great. An EVP stands for electronic voice phenomenon, and that we pretty much voice recording. So you use a voice recorder or a camera recorder, whatever, you're recording the sound. And sometimes if you listen very carefully, you can hear faint sounds, sighs, words, and if you're lucky, full fucking sentences on an EVP. And you can ask it cognitive questions in hopes of getting a cognitive response. Now, I have gotten plenty of those as a paranormal investigator, and I tend to get them a lot because when I investigate, I'm never disrespectful to the spirits. I always treat them with the utmost respect, and we have fun. Sometimes spirits are funny. Sometimes a paranormal experience is hilarious. It's not always dark or scary or creepy. Sometimes it's beautiful and it's warm and it's inspiring. I've had all of them. So another device that you can use to do some paranormal investigations besides a REM pod, which is actually kind of dope. A REM pod allows a spirit to use its energy. If it goes near it, it creates a loud sound that you can hear from wherever you are. You could be in a house or outside, but it emits kind of like a sound that's really like it's like a ring. Anyways, I can show you. Well, actually, you can see it on my videos, but. And also it lights up too. So if I'm not near it and it's dark, I can hear it or I can see it. So if a spirit gets near it, then I'm going to know for a fact. And kind of the same thing with a K2 meter, except you have to be a little bit closer with the K2 meter. It does not make any sounds, but it does read electronic energy around you. And they do say that spirits are just another form of electricity in a way, which kind of makes sense because a lot of the times when I go on a paranormal investigation, they will drain the shit out of my batteries. I have to bring multiple batteries for my camera, and actually the camera that I'm using right now to make this podcast episode is the camera that I take on my paranormal investigations. So who knows, maybe you'll see a ghost just pop up on the screen, huh? Were you expecting like a jump scare just now? Nah. Did I get you? I did. Amber, put in the jump scare while you're editing. So when I'm doing an investigation, I like to get as much information about the place as I can. I like to know a little bit about the history of the building or the location or the earth that the location is sitting on. I like to know what they've heard, what they saw, what they felt. I ask other people who stay in the same area if they've experienced or seen anything out of the ordinary. And if I can, I like to go to a place more than once, so I can see if everything is it an incessant situation, or is there something that is causing this to happen, or is there a way that I can debunk the entire thing? You know what I mean? Maybe lift your window open. I don't know. Maybe you have some weird wiring in your walls and the flickering lights. You thought it was a demon when really your house is about to be burned down. I don't know. And then I like to get like baseline readings. I'll take my my EMF or my K2 meter around to figure out if there's fluctuations that are incessant while I'm there. And if these lights are going off at the same area every single time, then there's a good chance that there's something going on behind the walls, whether it really could be electrical wiring or something else. Who knows? But not every time your paranormal tools, not every time they go off, it doesn't always mean that something paranormal has happened. My next phase would be like audio and visual surveillance. I like to, if I had enough cameras, what I would like to do is set up stationary cameras in different places of the location that I'm on. But I only have one camera right now, so usually I got to be there. But that's just where we are. And I would like to also have multiple digital voice recorders, or maybe even a thermal cam as well placed up, so I can see what's actually going on or hear what's going on later on. Now, the EVP analysis is a lot of work. Going through the evidence of all this footage and all the audio files is very tedious. So if you have a favorite paranormal investigator that's making content and you enjoy them, please make sure that you are clicking those thumbs up buttons and you are subscribing, because so much goes into it. And I can tell you from personal experience, it takes a lot. All right, so then phase 3 would be an interactive session where I will actually speak aloud with the spirits, like, hey, what is your name? What happened to you? And then I'll ask other cognitive questions that we can actually see their answers in real time. Like, what color is my phone that's in my hand right now? And if they say red, I'm like, oh, okay, well, you're okay. You know, and that's how I like to do it. And then I like to kind of go into like an historical correlation to see if there is a reason for why this spirit is here. Did something happen on this property? And then I like to kind of cross-reference my findings and that historical correlation to figure out, is this place haunted, or can I debunk it? And that is how you should do a paranormal investigation. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that, because this was fun and weird. I plan on discussing more paranormal and creepypasta and weird type of facts here on the Professionally Silly podcast, not just for the month of October, but in general. Because let's be honest, I am the sexy, creepy black lady, and that I am just fine wearing that label. I really am. All right, it is time for our POC Excellence segment, where I like to give my flowers to people of color who have done amazing, inspiring things. Let's go ahead and hit that next right here on the Professionally Silly podcast. Because I decided to do more creepy and paranormal type content on this podcast, and also discussing the crazy things that happen in our world currently, I want to end my podcast episodes on lighter, happier notes if possible. And I think our POC Excellence segment is a perfect just chef's kiss to ending the podcast on a positive note. So right this week, we are going to add the Instagram page at Essence of Black Culture. And we're going to go ahead and give our flowers to Marion Croak, who is the inventor of the tech powering Zoom, FaceTime, and WhatsApp. So she actually holds 200 plus patents and was inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Let's go ahead and give our flowers to Miss Marion Croak, for being pretty much the inventor of technology. That was just like a really simplified way of supporting this wonderful woman. Oh my God. We have her to thank for all the hilarious Zoom call videos that we saw during COVID. God bless her. And also, guys, one more thing. I did come across this recently as well on Instagram, and this is coming from the @mental.aspect page on Instagram. And so I want to read this to you. It says here, and this was really inspiring, and I saw this and I had to share it. It says, we often fight the wrong battles. It's easy to blame each other, but the truth is many conflicts are created by those who benefit from division. Next time chaos breaks out, pause and ask, who shook the jar. So let's dig into that. If you put 100 black ants and 100 red ants in a jar, nothing will happen. But if you shake the jar, the ants will start killing each other. Red ants will believe that black is the enemy, while blacks believe red is the enemy. But the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. The same is true in our society. Before we start to fight each other, we must ask ourselves, who shook the jar? It's the Professionally Silly Podcast. Well, I guess if there's anything that you can take from this episode, I am entertained by very dark topics, spirits and murder. No, I'm joking. I am definitely a fan of true crime, but one thing that you can take from this episode is just because someone is into true crime or the paranormal does not mean that they are into murder or that they are into death. What we are into is the mystery. We're into the psychology behind the reasons why people do the things that they do. I am not enamored with any serial killers. I don't have murderabilia. I don't write serial killers in prison. I definitely don't send them naked photos of myself. I don't want to marry one. I don't want to fuck one. Is nothing like that. I am not even interested in the killer themselves. I am interested as to why they did the things they did. What is it about their upbringing? What could have caused this? And most importantly, how can we prevent it? And even most importantly, thank fucking God we caught them. I'm into the story, not the gore or the dark sides of it. That I don't look up crime scene photos or anything like that. I'm not that crazy. I do talk to spirits though. I do talk to dead people. That's a whole nother thing though. That's a whole nother thing. But if there's anything that you can take from this podcast episode is professionally silly life rules. Don't judge folks. People have their reasons for why they are into the things that they're into, and it's not always a dark thing. Let's not negatively judge people immediately based on one thing if we can help it. You know what I'm saying? Don't shake the jar. You feel me? Shout out to the listeners because you guys are fucking titties. I love your faces, but most of all, I love the ears that are attached to them. I really appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so much for chilling with me every week if you have done that. And if you are new here, make sure you binge me because I do have over 300 episodes waiting for your ear balls to be eared up. I don't know where I was going with that. Subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform that you're using. Also, do your girl a favor if you could. Leave me a 5-star and written review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It would be very, very helpful to do that. And if you're watching on YouTube, click that thumbs up button, subscribe, and make sure you're commenting down below. The more engagement I get with the content that I post, whether it's visual or audio or audible, is extremely helpful for me as a creator. And that is how the algorithm realizes that I'm alive and I could use that. Don't forget to subscribe to the Professionally Silly YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're already there. And also check out my Paranormal Blacktivity channel. That is a channel where I do indeed do paranormal investigations. Now, mind you, I started doing paranormal investigations before I created that particular channel. So there is a Paranormal Blacktivity playlist that is on the Professionally Silly YouTube channel. That is my first channel. I will be sure to put the links down below. Actually, my link tree is down there and it will take you to all those links right there immediately. Both channels, my TikToks, my Instagram, my socials, all of that is there. Make sure you go ahead and check out the podcast Instagram at It's Pro Silly and the Professionally Silly podcast group on Facebook. You can always email me at itsprofessionallysilly@gmail.com, or you can leave me a voicemail or text my Google Voice number 805-664-1828. Last week, if you missed it on last week's episode, we had another listener call in to vent, and they had a lot to say about their dog. And honestly, as a pet owner, I 100% agree with her. It is horrible what's happening to her, but I completely understand her plight. Good luck, lady. Oh my God. My P.O. Box is Amber Smiles Jones, P.O. Box 533, Lovejoy, Georgia 30250. If you would like to send anything for me to unbox, whether it's food you want me to try or candy, which by the way, I do have some Mexican candy that we're going to be trying soon on the Professionally Silly channel, as well as my TikTok and other platforms. So make sure you're following me. Lots more fun content coming your way. Once again, it's your audible boop thing, Amber Smiles Jones. Thank you so much for listening to the Professionally Silly station, where I take my silliness seriously. And I'll leave you with this. None of us really own money. It's just our turn when we get it. Anyways, until next time, silly listeners, watch where you step, because there are pieces of shit everywhere and they love to spread their ignorance. Okay, bye. Could you give me some tongue twisters to get me ready for my podcast?
Absolutely. Here are a few fun ones. First, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Second, she sells seashells by the seashore. Third, how can a clam cram in a clean cream can? Fourth, unique New York, you know you need unique New York. And fifth, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry. Feel free to practice these and let me know if you want more or if you need help with anything else.
Yeah, I was just wondering if she could do that. That was dope. Let's try the one about clams. How can a clam cram a clean wait, what? How can a clam cram in a clean cram? Damn it, that's a tough one. How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? Got it. How can a clam cram in a clean cream can? Boom. That was hard as fuck. Let's get on to the podcast. Damn it. So there are a few theories starting over. There are a few. The concierge assured me that there were no guests booked next to my room, and that there were only 3 and that fuck.